Samantha Bee.
Thank you. Oh, that's so nice.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Welcome.
Oh, that's nice.
Last
Hello.
time you were here, you brought
Yes.
the old ball and chain.
I did.
Your husband.
Yeah, I barely know him. Yes, I did. I brought him.
Congratulations
Thank you.
on your award.
Thank you.
Crystal Awards. It's
The
an
Crystal.
achievement award.
Yes.
Women in film and television.
I'm a national treasure, George. And that is why I am here today. Yes, I was excited.
It's a big deal.
It was a huge deal. I don't get a lot of awards, but when I do, it's kind of an emotional experience. It's weird. I love it.
Are you used to that kind of idea, though? Do you having to address a public room?
Yeah, I'm a little bit used to that, but I do get very nervous because the people, particularly at an event like this, which has a lot of importance to people, and it's really about mentorship. All the speeches that are before you are very, they're grand. They speak of big ideas. And then I was looking through my notes and I was like, oh, I made another joke about Herman Cain's balls, So you're just kind of editing as you go. But I think it was fine.
What would one's joke about Herman Cain's balls be?
Well, actually, it wasn't Herman Cain's balls, but I did make a joke because on the show a little while ago, I made a joke about how Herman Cain's campaign headquarters were now officially located in my genital region. So I was able to get genitals into the event, as well as I do believe
Is that a byproduct of the American economy that real estate's cheaper now, or
real estate? Well, this is expensive real estate.
Okay.
I don't know about this. Is like, yeah.
What did you make of the Herman Cain collapse?
I was so disappointed. It was so rich and beautiful. I mean, every day was something new. I was really loving it. I realized that his wife was probably not loving it, but I got a kick out of it. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, obviously his whole campaign was to sell his book, but good for him.
But that's what it's become, right? Even with Sarah Palin and others, you see, it's become the primaries, the lead up to the primaries.
Yes.
It's just, oh my God, it's a plug me moment where people just try to build up their own profile, knowing they can never pass the test to be the leader.
Well, it did. I mean, particularly with Herman Cain, I mean, it really did. I mean, everybody knew that he was just trying to sell his book, but at some point in the process, I believe that he started to actually buy his own hype. I mean, it's definitely a dangerous territory to have enablers all around you at all times. And it did seem at some point that he went, I could really do this. I managed a whole bunch of Burger Kings, and I think that I've got some real solutions. When there were no burgers and the deep fat fryer went down, I solved that problem in like under 15 minutes. I think I can do this.
I am a doer.
I am a doer. And, he just extrapolated all those wonderful stories from his fast food franchises into the presidency. Oh my God!
Think about this though. How it's impossible to, or how much more difficult it is to satire the news when the news itself is so ridiculous in the first place, and the characters are insane.
It's like you just have to turn the camera on really sometimes and just let everybody speak, which is really what John is so good at. Is just finding those amazing moments and remembering. He has, his mind is like a steel trap.
When you go to the Daily Show,
Yeah.
and their correspondents, I mean, some of the kings right now were on that show.
Right.
Like Corral and even Colbert, what they've been able to do.
Sure.
When you first walked into that job.
Yes. I was in a puddle of pee.
Were you worried?
Oh my God, it was terrible. Of course. I mean, when I auditioned for the show, I cried a lot. Let's be honest. I was I was incredibly nervous.
In the audition, you cried?
No. Oh God, no. I would not be there today if I had cried. But at home, I was preparing for it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the greatest single opportunity I've ever been given. I really have to train for this and do a really good job. And so it was such a long process, and I cried. It was very emotional. And Jason said, I remember him specifically saying, he was like, you shouldn't be crying now. If you get the job, that's when you should start crying. And it was true in a way, because it was really tough to have watched the show for years, and then suddenly you're in Stephen Colbert's office. You're just jamming about what you did that day. Like, it just didn't make any sense for a long, long time. It took me a long time to just feel comfortable.
When did you say, I belong here?
It probably took a year. I think about 2 years in, one of the PAs came up to me and he was like, I think you're really coming into your own. Yeah. So maybe it was at the 2-year mark, because I remember thinking, well, I feel like I came came into my own like a little while ago. But thanks anyway. You know,
When
I'll
the
take
PA
compliment.
tells you, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
It means it's reached every
It was
level
great.
of the show. That's great.
It was great. Yeah.
The
it
other
was
thing,
great.
about, it's not just the idea of comedy and filling Colbert or whatever, dealing with that kind of comedy. Daily Show's an important show. It's actually,
Oh, well, thank you.
in the modern era,
Okay.
it's one of the most important shows on television.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
It changed. The
I'm
show wouldn't
doing
exist.
the Lord's work.
You are. In a way, you kind of are.
Okay.
In a way. What about the idea of remaining relevant in the way, and when you've done it for long enough, not just doing the same thing you guys have done before? How about that process?
You know, it's not the kind of job that you can really feel blasé about because, you know, we're coming into an election season. We're going to be going to the conventions, and we're all filled with, you know, that combination of excitement and dread that you feel down in your nether regions.
Where Herman Cain's campaign headquarters, yeah.
Exactly, because at some point you just have to press the gas and go, and you never know what you're going to find. It's always different, so it's exciting.
You still, when you approach the American political process as a Canadian, do you
Yeah.
ever still look at it like a Canadian?
Oh my God! Of course, I can't look at it any other way.
just
I mean,
how-
it's super interesting because I can't vote because I'm still Canadian, and so it's weird to be in it but not of it. You know, it's me commenting on it in sort of, and John Oliver is the same, and my husband Jason is the same. We can't even vote in the country in which we're making so much fun of their process, but in some ways it makes it a little easier actually, you know, because we don't have to actually suffer the
Right.
consequences too much.
And is it a conscious choice to stay a Canadian and to not vote?
It is. I have no real reason to. I mean, listen, I'm a tax-paying participant in the American system, but I can only take it so far. My children are American. I'll be multi-border. I don't really know what that makes me, but in the future, we have no plans to switch allegiance.
Bring your kids to conventions before?
We always bring the children because I don't like to be away from the children. So they have suffered. They have been to Denver. I mean, they're coming to Tampa, North Carolina. The whole show suffers because they have to get all these gigantic hotel rooms for us and minivans and stuff like that. But they're incredibly, they get it. I mean, we do our best work when we feel comfortable. If you know, our kids have to be with us.
You've entered this interesting phase. Never mind being on the Daily Show. Now you've become, and I say this out of curiosity in the way that I watch a nature show.
Oh, I love it.
You're a mommy blogger now.
I am.
It's like this mafia of bloggers.
I'm telling you, these women are wild. It is quite a mix to get into, and it was something that I blob. I just called it blobbing.
You're a mommy blobber.
I'm a mommy blobber. It's on Babbel.com, and I do it with my friend who was one of the Atomic Fireballs, one of my comedy partners in Canada, Alana Harkin. And it was just something, I really wanted to work on something with her. We're both parents, and it seemed like parenting can be very humorless. You know, the kind of online community, I mean, there are really great examples of places to go that are very informational. And to be honest with you, I don't read parenting blogs. I really don't read them because they never really spoke to me particularly. But I wanted to write about it. I felt like there was some room for me to get in there and just have a voice and and just do it for the love of it as opposed to making some big business out of it.
Right.
And I have been loving it.
What was the most recent one I read? There's that you're apologizing for all the gifts you had bought.
Oh my God, can I tell you, I used to buy wooden toys for all my friends, and I thought that the best I just spent so much time buying wooden toys from Denmark and Germany and going to all of these really insane websites where I just didn't know, and they all seemed very magical. And then I bought this is so bad, I'm sorry. I bought my children 2 remote control fart machines last year for Christmas, and it provided them with, I can't tell you the value of the distraction that created. I drank coffee, I read the paper, and my kids were just off in another space fighting over the remote. It was great.
So from now on,
Eventually I had to take the batteries out. I mean, you can't live that way forever, but it was so great for a short
cacophony of electronic
period
farts all over your house.
It's not a permanent situation.
Nice.
Oh, it was so ridiculous to me. I mean, there are so many women who work there, and they were very, they were hurt by that there was some belief that they were just all sort of sitting around taking people's notes, taking the big boys' notes. But there are incredibly hardworking, creative, contributing women all over the place. The place is just crawling with smart vaginas. So, you know.
Is that a new kind?
Smart, yeah.
Okay, curious.
It's from Germany. It's a, and so it was a silly moment, and we all got really miffed about it, and then we just sort of settled down and thought, well, you can just believe what you want to believe. I mean, nothing in television is as it would seem to be,
Certainly.
and that's just true.
When you guys did your marriage vows,
Yep.
was one of them in there, I vow to always work with you on everything you do from here on in?
I know. I don't know why we really do work together well. We provide a good balance to each other. He goes too far and I rein him in. No, I mean, yeah, we love working together, and it's such a great angle. You've always got to have an angle. So we think we make a pretty good team. We'll see, who knows?
Who's funnier, you or Jason?
Me. Let's be honest.
Who's funnier, Canadians or Americans?
Oh, you know what? Oh, it's so complicated. I can't answer that in, oh boy. French Canadians.
French Canadians.
What do you think? They do it all on stilts.
Do you, there is a funny thing about how many Canadians are in the business down there.
Yeah, there are a ton of Canadians. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I'm not naming any names, but if there were more opportunities in Canada for people to express themselves comedically, perhaps
That's what it comes
America
down to,
wouldn't
right?
come. And, you know, when you're an actor or you're a comedian, you will go anywhere where you think there's work. You just need to work. So if there are more opportunities there, you're going to try and get work. You're just trying to get work anywhere. You would go to Mexico and be a comedian if Mexico would offer you a job.
Right.
You would go anywhere.
And so here there just aren't the options.
There are not a lot of options, and I think that it is really time for that to change. But, you know, I mean, it's hard to get an audience. I did a show called Michael Tuesdays and Thursdays recently, which I think is such a great new show.
Really
it's
funny.
so funny,
Yeah.
and hardly anybody's watching it, and it makes me crazy.
The ratings are coming up.
They're coming up, but it's just it's so incremental, and I really believe in that show, and I really have high hopes for it.
It's a good show.
It's a good show.
It's one of those-
So well done. I love it.
Well, that's, you know, the problem is not all the networks in this country are committed to making Canadian television.
Thank God they got into. I mean, I have to give.
Here you go,
kudos
Samantha.
to
She recently received the
CBC
Crystal Award for
Sure.
International
Give it a
Achievement
shot.
from the Women in
Yes.
Film and Television in Toronto, which is great. And of course, you can catch her all the time on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.